So then I just you read about the history of clippers. They actually used them in China and whatnot, but the term clipper came from Baltimore. They were the Baltimore Clippers, and the first ship, it says, is generally known as the original clipper. It's called Ann McKim. Now, if you add up Ann McKim and Pythagorean gematria, it comes to 33. Interesting that it was made in 1833. I mean, what are the odds of that? Anyway, it says Ann McKim 494 tons OM. That's like, I guess, how much it can hold or something. The old measurement. But interesting, it's 494, 4994, the mirror. We've been talking about that for how long now? I mean, it's just craziness. Um, but anyway, so it says, it was the first Clipper, but it wasn't is great or whatever. And the first basically extreme Clipper was the Rainbow in 1845. And I just thought it was kind of funny, I guess. I think of Blake Griffin, but I guess it's actually Griffiths. I thought it said Griffin, but it's John W. Griffiths. He's the one who supposedly was the architect of that last ship, Ann Kim, and then also of the Rainbow. But this boat here, this is another weird thing here. It says on March 17th, 1848, it arrived in New York, having set the all-time record from Canton to the U.S., 77 days. And then that same day, it sailed from New York, and it was never seen again. But so it set a record for the fastest time or whatever in 77 days. But 1848 was a leap year, meaning March 17th was the 77th day of the year, and then it set the record for 77 days. Just pretty interesting. And if you read here, it says it's Rainbow's fastest passage was in 1846 between Whampoa and New York in 88 days. Go figure. So anyway, I talked about Freddy's Dead. It was came out on the anti-date or the mirror date of when Freddy Gray died. But then I wanted to take a deeper look into it because it came out in 1991 and Freddy Gray was 25. It said when he died. I don't know if he was born. I don't know what year he was born. I can't find the actual day that he was born. But it was in 91, so that wouldn't be 25 years. So I thought I'll look at the rest of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. And the very first Nightmare on Elm Street, if you come down here, it came out on November 9th, backwards 9/11, in 84, big year with Obama. We've talked about that tons and tons of times, 84. But one of the main characters, actually the first person to die in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, her name on the movie is Tina Gray. And she's actually, I looked it up, actually the very first person that Freddy kills on all these movies. Well, besides the children before he dies or whatever, but in the dream world, it's the first person that he kills. And he didn't break her neck or anything like that. He actually just swipes her across the chest or whatever and kills her. And I guess I didn't go back and even watch all these movies. I just found it really interesting that her name was Tina Gray. It was like, give me a break. The first person that Freddy kills ever is Tina Gray. And the person who played Tina Gray in real life is Amanda Weiss or whatever. And she's 54. She's love. I mean, come on. Then I kind of worked my way just looking up Freddy Krueger stuff or Nightmare on Elm Street. And I was just trying to find if anything would have been from like 1990 or 89 or whatever, because that would be 25 years ago, and that would match up with Freddy Gray. But so anyway, there was actually a TV show called Freddy's Nightmares, and just look at when it was aired. The first episode of the series originally aired on October 8th, 1988. That is 10-8, or also 8-8 of 88. It went for 44 episodes. And then in the United States, the VHS was released on September 11th, 1991. I mean, so that's some pretty significant numbers here. 8-8-88, September 11th, 1991. And definitely want to come back at some point and watch a lot of these episodes. Some of them just seem pretty interesting. I mean, you got like November 5th of 1988. This one, November 12th, that's 49 days left until the end of the year in 1988. And it's this guy who you can't find fantasizes a dream date with a sex goddess, Lana this, and this lady plays her. And she was born on November 18th, so there's your 11-18 or your 8-8-8 or 88. Also the 322nd day of the year. But she's 54 also. Just crazy. Let's see here. You got Sister's Keeper, which is kind of interesting considering I haven't made a video on it, but I just watched a couple videos like within the past couple days or a week or whatever, and they were both about my brother's keeper. And in the Bible, the verse about with Cain and Abel, where he says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" or whatever, is actually Genesis 4:9-49. So I don't know, pretty interesting that they have one called Sister's Keeper. And there's just a ton of them that involve love. Love stinks. This one's on the 49th day of the year. Just, wow, just a ton of them. Heartbreak Hotel. Oh, I know, I've seen a whole bunch of just love stuff when I was reading through here. Prisoner of Love. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to move on to some of the other movies here. I guess also I forgot to point out that Freddy Krueger, it says, was actually born on November 12th, 1938. So November 12th, I've talked about, I mean, that's like Russell Westbrook's birthday. It's a ton of people, but it's 49 days left until the end of the year. And 1938, that's actually 76 years ago. In November, it will be 77 years. And where is Baltimore located? 76 degree west. I mean, pretty interesting that Freddy dies in Baltimore on the 76th meridian west. And then Freddy Krueger is 76 years old. Oh man, I really need to go watch these. I don't even know. I'm just kind of looking for the 25-year one. So that's actually this one could technically be 25 years ago, depending on the day or whatever. But this one was from 1985. It's 85 minutes long. Can't even click on it here. 85 minutes long. Came out on 11/1, so 1/1/1. This third one here, thought it was pretty interesting because it came out on 2/27, which is the Julian Valentine's Day. Also, that's the 2/27 is the 49th prime number. The budget was 4.5 million, so 49 and 45. Let's move on here. This one came out in 1988. This is August 19th, 1988. If you convert that to Julian calendar, it would be August 6th, which is the 218th day, 218. February 18th is the 49th day of the year. Looks like it made 49.3, I guess, but 49 million. Also has Dan Jordan in it. A guy named Dan Jordan is one of the main characters, and he actually survives, and he's in the next movie too. But I guess just interesting that they have a Jordan in the 1988 one, and I've been talking about Michael Jordan, or just maybe just Jordan in general, and they're just using Michael Jordan a lot. Um, but the next movie here was Freddy's, or not Freddy's Dead. I already talked about that one, dear. Uh, The Dream Child, and it came out in 1989. Let's see when. August 11th, so 8/11/88, and it came out in 89. So also the box office 22.1. I've been talking about 122 in San Francisco and just 122 in general, tons of it. So the Mirror. So that is so August 11th, 89. That it will be 26 years. But right when Freddie Gray died, it was 25 years. So interesting that a Freddy movie came out. Like I said, I don't know his exact birthday, so he might not have been born in '89. But just anyway, it's 25 years ago, and Freddie Gray died at age 25. But you scroll down and you look at the characters here, and they brought back the Gray. They brought back a Gray character. You got Dan Jordan, and then you have Mark Gray and Edmund A. Gray. And Mark Gray actually dies in the movie. So, whatever. And he's played by Joe Seeley. And it doesn't really say a whole lot about this guy. Just says he was born in 1960. So, I mean, that could be 54 years ago or 55 years ago. Both definitely significant, though. So, and I can't click on this character, so I'm just assuming it must just be a small part. They're two different spellings, so I don't even think they're related. But click on this guy who plays him or whatever. And he's 76 years old, and I just talked about why that's significant. Then there was Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and also the very new movie that came out in 2010 or whatever, or not really very new, but and I haven't really checked into that. I know I watched it, I just didn't watch it that in depth, I guess. But this one interested me because it was from '94, The Mirror of 49. It says it's 112 minutes. I mean, I've talked about this number tons of times. 112, 11/2, whatever. October 14th is one of the few days that actually adds up to 220. And I talked about 220. That's actually the 51st day of the year. Tons of other stuff. Kurt Cobain's birthday. It's the Mirror of November 10th. But anyway, back to this one then with it's 25 years ago or whatever. It just stood out to me, The Dream Child. And I was thinking I made a video or something a long time ago where I wrote it down about Robin in Batman. And there was something to do with Batman dies and really goes into like the dream world or something. I'm going to look it up here in a second and talk about it. But that just made me think of that. And actually, I was getting, I made two separate things here. I was getting them confused together here. But I was thinking of the Sandman in the dream world and whatnot. But what's interesting, I guess, it's still interesting. The original Robin in Batman is Dick Grayson, so Gray. And Batman doesn't actually die. He doesn't go to the dream world. He's actually traveling through time. And when that happens, Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing or whatever and becomes basically Batman. But I was looking at the aliases, and it says one is Freddy Lloyd for Robin. This is kind of weird, I guess. Freddy Lloyd. And also Freddy DiNardo. So Grayson and then Freddy and Freddy. Also, I found it kind of interesting that they brought Nightwing back in the New 52 in 2011. 52, that's Michael Jordan's age. That's a ton of things I've talked about, but the New 52. And just gonna throw it in there. I just realized a few things. The Sandman. I mean, I talked about it before. And it was basically I was just talking about how it came out in 1988. But what's like on Back to the Future, I remember when Marty goes back in time, the first song that's playing is Mr. Sandman, give me a dream, blah 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 blah, whatever. And I looked up that song, and it actually came out in 1954. Love, right? The Love reference, and it's 2 minutes 22 seconds long. 222. Even says the most successful recording of the song in the UK was by Dickie Valentine. And Dickie Valentine was born on November 4th, which is the Egyptian Valentine's Day. Kind of interesting. Also, in this movie, Doc tells Marty that he's going to go 25 years into the future so he can see the next 25 World Series. And so 1985 plus 25 would be 2010, not 2015. And in 2010, this San Francisco Giants won the World Series. Now, I've talked about San Francisco like crazy. They also won last year's World Series. So, let's point it out here. Yep, right here. San Francisco Giants. That's 2014. Tom Brady is actually from San Mateo, California, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's not even going to load, but oh well. Just wanted to point out a few things again about San Francisco. The Undertaker in WrestleMania is 22-1. I talked about 122, the mirror. That's why Undertaker had to lose, because they needed him to be 22-1. It's just ridiculous. So he's the reverse of San Francisco. WrestleMania also happened to be in San Francisco, or the San Francisco Bay Area this year. You got The Rock coming out with the movie San Andreas. The Rock is actually from the San Francisco Bay Area. You had the return of the NWO in WrestleMania this year. And even next year's Super Bowl is in San Francisco. So there's a ton of San Francisco references that I've seen over and over, just pointing it out again, I guess. And weird, I just thought of, I know this has nothing to do with Gray, but I just thought of something, and maybe I thought of it before, I'm just remembering it, but the word revelation adds up to 49, 67, and 121. I've talked about a ton of 49s. Flux capacitor is 149. 49, so it's 88 miles an hour to get the time machine going. 49 is what they called plutonium and during the Manhattan Project, so that's the gas. And then it goes 1.21 gigawatts. And 121 is revelation. That's some crazy stuff. Okay, I'm almost done here. I thought of this movie. I went and seen it in the theater a long time ago. Back in I think Joe Dirt came out the same weekend. I went and seen them both. But it's Tom Green. Freddy Got Fingered is what the movie's called. So Freddy Got Fingered. And Tom Green, and Green is 49. Talked about that a lot, is the star. But it's probably the stupidest, but like I don't know why it's funny to me. But what happens is he goes to the work at the cheese factory and then tries to get his comic book famous or whatever. But then him and his dad have a falling out or whatever. So towards the end of the movie, he calls like child services on his dad and says that I can't even remember it all, but that his little brother Freddy got fingered by his dad, and that's why it's called Freddy Got Fingered. But interesting, in this movie, his brother Freddy is 25 years old, just like Freddie Gray. The 25-year-old Freddy is sent to a home for sexually molested children. So, I mean, that's the whole point of this movie, is that the 25-year-old Freddy got fingered. I don't know. I just find that really funny. And the movie came out on April 20th, like literally almost, I mean, it's one day off of when Freddie Gray died, even. Okay, last thing I was going to say, on the Yahoo Trends earlier at work on my break, I noticed it had Claudia Jordan, and it was just, it's stuff to do about racism and her and Genuine, like the rapper guy. But anyway, I looked her up on Wikipedia. I guess I could have showed you right there. And for one, it's just Jordan again, the code word or whatever, Jordan. But look when she was born, April 12th, 1973, of all days. Um, age 42, but April 12th is the day Freddie Gray was arrested. And she was in the news with Genuine, who Genuine is born on October 15th, where there's 77 days left until the end of the year. So he will be 45 this year, but he is 44. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Apologize for being so unorganized and whatnot. There's so many you just stumble upon a lot of things that they just keep popping up. So whatever, I'm going to quit rambling and have a great night.